फिल्म रेडी है, फिल्म रेडी है। So without any delay, we begin with a 4-minute video on the activities of Samskriti Foundation, immediately after which we will commence the valedictory function.
Registered in 1999 as a public trust and having its administrative office at Mysore, the cultural capital of Karnataka, Samskriti Foundation is governed by a board of trustees and guided by an advisory council consisting of stalwarts from the field of academics, administration, law, and science and technology, popularly regarded as the Holy Badrinath of South. Melukote or Tirunarayanapuram has been acclaimed for its tradition and divine wisdom. Known as the Gnana Mantapa, it was here the saint reformer Sri Ramanujacharya spent a major portion of his life creating a spiritual revolution and re-establishing the eminence of Vedic knowledge. The inspiration has encouraged the establishment of Samskriti Foundation at Melukote with a mission to preserve and propagate the culture and scientific heritage of India, focusing on its contemporary relevance and utility.
Samskriti Foundation is trying to explore the Indian knowledge systems. It wants to show the relevance of the Indian knowledge systems even today. And most of the Indian knowledge systems are stored in the ancient texts which are in the form of palm leaf manuscripts.
There is a wonderful saying which goes as follows: Bharatasya pratishtedve Samskritam Samskritistatha. Two unique aspects that define the contribution of Indians to the entire world at large are the Indian culture and Sanskrit language. Sanskrit language is the vehicle through which Indian culture is reached to the masses at large. Samskriti Foundation is engaged in the revival and propagation of both Sanskrit language and Indian culture, which are intertwined with each other.
Samskriti Foundation's activities can be broadly classified under three basic categories. 1. Fundamental research into our traditional knowledge systems based in Sanskrit. 2. Transdisciplinary and multidisciplinary research, combining theories of modern science and traditional Indian knowledge. 3. Outreach programs that involve publication of important texts with commentaries and translations, etc., in the form of web apps and mobile apps, books, and such other media. It also includes extensive online and in-person classes on various aspects of Indian cultural heritage. Fundamental research involves research into the very basic core of Indian knowledge systems. Prominent among them is the flagship program of the Samskriti Foundation known as Gnana-Shvattaha, a mammoth virtual online knowledge structure that houses the entire gamut of traditional knowledge in its various dimensions under a single umbrella. Other programs under fundamental research include research leading to the preparation of publications like Sanskrit English Dictionary of Yoga based on fundamental texts of yoga, critical edition of texts like Patanjali's Yoga Sutra Bhashya, Hatha Yoga Pradipika, and other yoga works with English translations, illustrations, and notes. An overview of Yoga Upanishads and their contribution to yoga in English, Yoga in Puranas and Upapuranas in English along with the original Sanskrit texts, and including a very interesting comprehensive publication on Upavasa, fasting, transdisciplinary and multidisciplinary research. This includes, among others, an exhaustive project on heritage of Indian metallurgy, which involves an application-oriented study of the history of metallurgy in India in 10 volumes, a comprehensive e-catalogue of ancient manuscripts and books on metallurgy and alchemy, an encyclopedic dictionary on Indian metallurgy and alchemy. Another important research project aims to catalogue all the ancient palm leaf manuscripts pertaining to 40 different fields of science and technology like mathematics, astroscience, gemology, behavioral sciences, etc. There are many such other projects that bring together traditional knowledge and modern science.
At Samskriti Foundation, we propose to revive and propagate seemingly several extinct areas of knowledge like Bharadwaja Vimana Shastra, the traditional Indian aeronautics, Dhanurveda, the ancient Indian warfare, and such other topics.
Outreach programs. These include self teaching multimedia programs in the form of web apps and mobile apps. These multimedia self teaching programs comprises of various modules including multiple modes like recite mode, teach me mode, tell me mode, and search features with different filters to facilitate easy learning and understanding of the texts. The four major components of this program are Sage Patanjali's Yoga Sutras,
अथ योगानुशासनम्
Hatha Yoga Pradipika,
प्रणम्य श्रीगुरुं नाथम् प्रणम्य श्रीगुरुं नाथम्
Sharada Script Teaching Package, Panchasuktam.
अथ पुरुषो हवै नारायणो कामयद प्रजासृजेति
भारतीयसंस्कृतेः वैज्ञानिकज्ञानपरम्परायाः प्रकृतोपयोगित्वद्योतनार्थम् इयं संस्था कटिबद्धा वर्तते। एतदर्थम् अनया संस्थया अनेकानि कार्याणि क्रियमाणानि वर्तन्ते। एवम् उत्तरकाले अपि समस्तलोकोपकारकान् अनेकान् नूतनान् आविष्कारान् समर्पयितुम् अस्मदीया इयं संस्था उद्युक्ता वर्तते।
Another important outreach project is the publication of the Kannada version of the Valmiki Ramayana in 8 volumes and Sage Vyasa's Srimad Bhagavatam also in 8 volumes, authored by Pandit Devashikhamani Alasingaracharya.
In the coming years, Samskriti Foundation is poised to contribute significantly to showcase the importance of our traditional knowledge in such a way that it can provide indigenous, sustainable, eco-friendly, cost-effective solutions in science and technology in very relevant fields. This was the dream of our founder Lakshmi Tatacharya, and we feel a time has come to achieve it.
Samskriti Foundation is a credible NGO certified by the Credibility Alliance. The trust has obtained tax exemption under sections 12A and 80G of the Income Tax Act, along with eligibility to receive foreign contributions under the FCRA rules and receive contributions under the CSR scheme of the Government of India. Samskriti Foundation welcomes one and all to join this exciting journey in preserving the cultural and scientific heritage for prosperity in India.
Lights, please. I now welcome Shri Tejasvi Suryaji, Honorable MP, to kindly come on stage. I also welcome Shri T.G. Sitaram, Honorable Chairman, All India Council of Technical Education. Similarly, I welcome Shri Srivatsa Krishna IAS, Principal Secretary, DPR, and the guest of honor, Dr. Shailesh Nayak, Director, National Institute of Advanced Studies, followed by Professor E.S. Dwarka Dasa, President of Samskriti Foundation, Mysore. We now begin with a short and sweet invocation by Srimati Andal Sriram and Amuda Sriram.
ज्ञानानन्दमयं देहम् निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवम् उपास्महे।
या कुन्देन्दुतुषारहार धवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रान्विता या वीणा वरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युत शङ्करप्रभृतिभिः देवैः सदा पूजिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापः।
Thank you very much, Srimati Andal Sriram and Amuda Sriram. I would like to complete the formality of welcoming the dignitaries on the dais in a flash, because all of them are extremely busy and are on call all the 24 hours. So first of all, I would like to welcome Shri Tejasvi Suryaji, very eminent MP of Bangalore South and also the member of the Committee on Information Technology of the Government of India. He is also a multifaceted personality, and many of the citizens of India see him as the future Prime Minister of India 1 or 2 decades down the line. So I extend a very warm welcome to him. Similarly, I am extremely happy to welcome Shri T.G. Sitaram, Chairman, All India Council for Technical Education, who once again, despite numerous demands on his time, has condescended and acceded to our request to give the valedictory address of this wonderful program. I am also very greatly pleased to invite and welcome Sri Srivatsa Krishna ji, IAS, and a great scholar and also information technologist, a highly acclaimed academician who is also a great administrator, for having come all the way despite numerous demands on his time. Welcome, sir. And we are extremely beholden to Sri Shailesh Nayak ji, eminent scientist and also Director, National Institute of Advanced Studies, for his guidance, cooperation, and also providing us this venue. And finally, I also welcome Professor E.S. Dwarka Dasa, eminent scientist, retired professor of metallurgy, who will be presiding over this program. Now I request Shri T.G. Sitaram ji to kindly give his valedictory address.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಈ ದಿನ ಮಹಾಶಿವರಾತ್ರಿ. ಈ ದಿನದಂದು ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸೇರಿ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಅ valedictory function of the National Seminar on Sanskrit, particularly Indian knowledge system and information communication technologies. Sri Tejasvi Suryaji, Honorable Member of Parliament, Bangalore South. Professor E.S. Dwarkadasa, my colleague from Professor Metallurgy, Indian University of Science, and now President of Samskriti Foundation. Dr. Srivatsa Krishna, Principal Secretary, DPAR, Government of Karnataka. Dr. Shailesh Nayak, Director, NIAS, and former Secretary, Ministry for Science. And very important person is Dr. M.A. Alwar, Samskriti Foundation, Mysore. And all the distinguished delegates for this national seminar, professors of NIAS, and also some students. Brothers and sisters. First of all, let me thank Samskriti Foundation, Dr. M.A. Alwar, to inviting me for this closing function of this national seminar on Sanskrit, IKS and ICT. Some of you might think, what is to do with a chairman, All India Council for Technical Education and Samskriti Foundation are the topic which has been discussed here. Once I start elaborating on some of the activities, what AICT has done in the last 6-7 years, you'll realize, I think this is an odd place. That's why I also, even though 2-3 events were happening today in the city, I came from Delhi yesterday, I chose to attend this. At least I can learn something. What Lakshmi Tatachar has left. He's no more today, but his contribution remains forever. Because very few experts are there to decipher what was there in our Taligaris. That's the fantastic work he has brought down. And you can see the association like Professor Dwarkadasa. And I was really surprised to hear he has 10 volumes on Indian metallurgy alone. That's a real contribution. Please give him a hand. Friends, India's vision of becoming a global leader and creating a very peaceful and developed world with a concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. It's very important for India to utilize technology, research and innovation to protect, enhance and promote its activities. And in particular, the languages. They're very, very critical. Our Honorable Prime Minister keeps saying, we need to start thinking in our languages, which we have stopped for the last 50 to 60 years. See, I always questioned myself when I was in Japan. Whatever, I used to teach there. When I was teaching in English, they used to always translate, and which was never possible to understand for us. But today, this is very important. If you go and look in the corner of a country of 6 lakh villages, there are people who doesn't understand English or Hindi, but there are much more talent than many other people. So that talent needs to be taken out. It's only possible when we actually start conversing like any other European nation, both in their mother tongue and other languages. We are not against the other languages. So harnessing the power of technology, that's actually the beauty of the Bangalore city. We are sitting in a right place actually discussing on this topic. So harnessing the power of technology which can help preserve and promote India's diverse linguistic heritage. By utilizing technology, we need to develop tools and resources for Indian languages, which we can ensure that these languages remain vibrant and accessible. So this is where the work of All India Council for Technical Education you should take note of. Today, AICTE has its own AICTE Deep Learning Artificial Intelligence Translational Tool, Anuvadini, which is still not yet released, but we have done a lot of work actually. We have actually translated the books of diploma and engineering, first and second year, in 13 languages, including Kannada. And this is also not run of a mill of a book. That means we don't take a book which is existing. Maybe it may be popular, but we don't take that. We have asked experts of IITs and NITs to write these textbooks in the form of based on outcome-based education of the UN Charter, where we are signatory for the United Nations. And these model, and also based on the model curriculum which AICTE has developed for all the engineering colleges and diploma colleges in the country. So we have completed, I'm very happy to tell you, we have completed translation of all the diploma first and second year book, and also the engineering first and second year book, and 13 languages. What it makes, and also we are encouraging people to start learning getting the degrees also in the languages. It is not by force. India is a democratic country. But what this rich material will provide you, will anytime, you can actually look at, and this is also not done in a hurry. We have developed the thesaurus for the words which were not there in English, in Kannada or other languages. A committee has sat down and minimum 50,000 words have been identified fresh, and that has been incorporated in our Anuvadini. And now we have another tool which is going an extra mile based on the voice. Today, if I am speaking in English, simultaneously you can start listening in Kannada, English in real time with deep learning tool, which is also going to come soon. And we also have the tool which we have developed, can translate books with pictures, graphs, everything as it is in a different language. That's a tremendous effort. That what it does. I was just, somebody was asked me when I entered, what Professor Darkadasa only, the new tools which are AI tools which have come, are you going to, so they're going to remove many jobs, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen. But there is no need to worry. We will accustom. Human beings are very so smart. We will get used to the new technologies. So I am trying to address that, and we are sitting in such a fantastic place within Indian Institute of Science. I don't think if we cannot do that here, where can we do that? So the very important step is we need to develop tools and resources for Indian languages. We have many languages. Officially itself on our bill itself there are 13 languages. But other than that, if you go to Northeast where I was the director of IIT, there are hundreds and hundreds of dialects and languages which doesn't have even text. At IIT Guwahati, we started Center for Linguistic Science and Technology. By just voice-based recording, today the technology offers you many options. We can archive them because some of the languages in Arunachal Pradesh are vanished. There are hardly 1 or 2 people can speak now. So such languages can be archived, recorded, talk to them. So many research students at IITs are working on this. Indian knowledge system, again, is housed in, even though it's a Ministry of Education's wing of the Indian knowledge system, and that is housed in All India Council for Technical Education. So this IKS is a center which actually facilitates research projects, book writing in all these areas. And I also request Samskriti Foundation also to approach us. We will be very glad to support some of these activities of Samskriti Foundation through All India Council for Technical Education's Indian Knowledge System Center. These languages, when it is used extensively and we create our own technical literature, it will not only benefit the speakers of these languages within India, but also allow India to showcase the cultural diversity to the world. And this is the where, I would love to say, even though these 13 languages, what we have done, is downloaded across 49 countries. I couldn't believe it. Large number of downloads of these books have happened. So that means there is an interest. And of the maybe Indian diaspora who moved very long back are interested in this. Additionally, the development and use of Indian language technology can serve as a form of a soft power, allowing India to exert influence and gain respect through its cultural achievements rather than through economic means. This is another where I think the present government is doing exceedingly well. Today our country commands so much of respect. When we were actually students, I actually studied my master's in Indian Institute of Science and went to Canada. It was so horrifying to go through our customs And even why are we going there? After going out of the country, it was completely different. But once we come back, again we had a solace in our campus, which is just 400 acres. But not outside. Outside, actually we were misfit many times. But today that scenario is not the same. I think I will leave that to Suryaji to explain rather than me talking about that. I will focus on the technologies and what All India Council for Technical Education has done in the language side. In order to foster cooperation and collaboration among various stakeholders who develop, research, innovate, practice and promote products and services of Indian languages, AICTE jointly with Bharatiya Bhasha Samiti, which is again a ministry, we are coming up with a conference, hopefully in the city of Bangalore, in the month of either end of March or April. We want that to be done at the Indian Institute of Science, so that there is a clear understanding of that this is more of a science and technology, not just a affinity to Bharat. Because there is such a knowledge which was there. Somewhere in last 100, 150 years we have lost that entirely, in its entirety. So that we need to decipher through such scholars who are very few number now in the country. We can only count them. But look at the dedication of Dr. Lakshmi Tatachar. Single-handedly, sitting in a small place like Melkote. I don't know how many of you been to Melkote. It's a very, very small place. There is nothing else actually other than the temple. That too is on the hill. But he could contribute so much to the science and technology, deciphering from our allegories and other things. It's a remarkable and commendable. I would like to really applaud that effort of Samskriti Foundation. Please. So this Bharatiya Bhasha Technology National Conference would be held in, as I told you, in March and April. Of some of you who have, please watch for the advertisement through the AICT website. We will share that with you and bring that out to you. In the technology side, because I'm here, the objectives of the Government of India as well as All India Council for Technical Education is, we would like to create a synergized Indian language ecosystem for the development of Indian language technologies, research and innovation through collaboration among all stakeholders. We would also identify ongoing projects by different stakeholders, like the one what you people have discussed the last 2 days, and exploring the possibility of greater coordination to optimize resource use through multi-sectoral resource management plans. So we would like to really collate all those and see how best we can present that. We would like to also establish a uniform standard for the development of Indian language technology tools. That's the objective of the conference. Identifying priority areas where Indian language technology tools are needed for all Indian languages. Some of them are difficult even today. For Sanskrit, I don't think we have the tools yet, because I heard it is a very challenging thing to develop that. If some of you are there, because this is a place where I can find some, please join hands with us through All India Council for Technical Education. We welcome you with open hearted and give you a place sitting there. There are some of them, like Dr. Chamu Shastri is already there in Delhi working with us. So like that, some of you are interested to focus on that. So we welcome you. So ensuring equal importance of all Indian languages is also very critical, because we are very passionate about our languages. Oldest language being Tamil, and also we are competing. Kannada is also one of the oldest. So we are very passionate. So there is nothing like anybody can force that. So I thought we should bring out books, technical books, knowledge, and offer programs which is for those who would like to take it. It is not that we are going to replace completely with English. No. With our local languages. It is an opportunity for the young people who would like to learn that, and also approach the government to also take them as a degree, so that they'll get a placement also at the end. It's not that they're left out in the system. Creating a list of desired Indian language technology tools for both public facing front and use the back-end linguistic technologies. In this, I think AICTE has done again a tremendous work called National Education Technology Alliance, NEET. That means even if you have developed a software which is you wanted to sell it commercially, AICTE welcomes you to put it on our portal. We will review it, we will curate it, and then put it on the portal where anybody can download it with a certification from AICTE, which is called National Education Alliance for Technology, NEET. If it is free, we will also join hands with our logo thing, pro bono basis, any activities we can do jointly with any of the agencies. So we need specific voluntary communities for this kind of a technology initiatives, because this cannot be done by single-handedly by one agency unless we all join hands together. This is a daunting task, knowing a country of that nature of 1.3 billion people speaking more than 100 languages, okay, and this is only possible with all of you put your efforts into that. So we need to deliberate this at many forums like this, identify the gaps, identify the needs, and also identify the teams who can work together and bring out the knowledge which was there in India, which was somehow vanished in last 150 years because of the education which we went through, which is completely rote learning. So let me, with this brief background on this today's event, let me tell you also briefly what initiatives we are taking. We wanted to be a facilitator than a regulatory authority. Even though the government had given us the powers, I mean, it's one of the oldest organization of 1945, and first 5 chairmen were actually, if you see the board, it's very astonishing for me also. It humbles you. First 5 chairmen were the Ministry of HRDs, including 3 of them or 2 of them were Prime Ministers of the country. Honorable Prime Minister of India, Narasimha Rao, was the first chairman, and then VP Singh was the 3rd chairman or so, and there are other 2, 3. So later on, first the full-time chairman came, University of Roorkee's Vice Chancellor, Professor Khanna was the first Vice Chancellor who became the chairman of AICTE. And in addition, later on, 3 of the directors of IIT have taken charge as the chairman of AICTE. First was our Natarajan, former director of IIT Madras. Then Professor Damodar Acharya, former director of IIT Kharagpur. And Professor Nigam, former director of IIT Delhi. So I was the 4th one to take charge as the director of IIT coming from IIT Guwahati. People still ask me, why did you go to AICTE when you are sitting as a director of IIT? I thought, IITs, whatever we try to do there, we eloquently transform that the Northeastern IIT into a multidisciplinary with medical, business, and energy science, and all that has been added, and it is now truly a multidisciplinary school. Within 3 years, we got a lot of time during pandemic to do that. I thought we need to transform the national education through national education policy, transform the Indian technical education, because AICTE is responsible for 9,000 institutions. What is much more important is all the 23 IITs and even including University of Science only contributes to 0.5% of the engineers produced in the country. 80% and odd and more institutions are the students which graduate from institutions which are actually approved by the All India Council for Technical Education. So there is a bigger role to bring in more transparency, bring in more simple approval processes, so that we control. It is rules are light but tight. We need to do it very, very strict and very. With that intention, we have taken up a big step of modeling curriculum, and we are suggesting curriculum also to all the colleges. It's only a guideline. Please understand, we want to give them academic freedom and faculty development training, which has been taken up a huge way. Today I've just attended that, and also we are creating what is called as idea labs, where students can hands-on work on the newer technologies with 3D printing or semiconductors or 5G technologies, students will actually hands-on. We have one idea lab is established in Visheshwaraya Technical University campus of Muddenhalli, and I was really impressed with the way the students where teachers were actually the trainers of trainers were there sitting there, and they were learning. The way they got excited when I went and met them, it was really mind-boggling. So AICT has started almost close to about 100 idea labs across the country, and we have started about 7,000 innovation councils in nook and corner, including schools. So we have actually not just doing the technical education, even the school education also. We will impart the research and innovation concepts to the schools. AICT is doing a lot of work. Another very important thing I noticed was Honorable Prime Minister's special scholarship scheme for Jammu and Kashmir students. Friends, more than 30,000 students have been brought from Jammu and Kashmir to the mainland, and more than about 100 students are actually in the city of Bangalore, studying various programs, not just engineering, basic science. In NMKRV college, their students are there, and medical. So the entire effort was given to AICTE just because they could use the technology and do a very transparent way, distribute this fellowship, direct benefit transport, so that these students are amalgamated into the Indian system. And I was also fortunate enough to get involved in the projects like Chenab Bridge, which connects actually mainland to the Jammu and Kashmir, which has almost taken 15 years to build that bridge. That entire work was done through Indian Institute of Science in a consulting mode for looking at the stability of the entire the bunds and the bridge construction at very near to Katra, Vaishno Devi temple, about 40 kilometers from there. So with these few words, I once again thank the organizer for inviting me to this event to deliver the valedictory address. And I profusely thank Dr. Alwar, who came all the way to my office to Delhi to invite me. Thank you, one and all. Jai Bharat, Jai Hind. Namaskar.
I'm extremely thankful to Dr. Sitaramji for coming all the way from Delhi for this program and addressing us, and also giving us a vision statement with regard to what has to be done, and also the wonderful visionary programs that have been undertaken by the AICTE. So without any delay, I request Shri Tejasvi Suryaji to kindly come and address us. He needs no introduction, so I just invite him to say namaste.
ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಮಹಾಶಿವರಾತ್ರಿಯ ಹಾರ್ದಿಕ ಶುಭಾಶಯಗಳು. ವೇದಿಕೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಉಪಸ್ಥಿತರಿರುವಂಥ AICTEಯ ಚೇರ್ಮನ್ ಆಗಿರುವಂಥ TG ಸೀತಾರಾಮ್ ಅವರೇ, NIASನ ನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರಾಗಿರುವಂಥ ಶೈಲೇಶ್ ನಾಯಕ್ ಅವರೇ, ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷತೆಯನ್ನು ವಹಿಸಿರುವಂಥ ಹಿರಿಯ ವಿದ್ವಾಂಸರಾಗಿರುವಂಥ ES ದ್ವಾರಕಾದಾಸ್ ಸಾಹೇಬ್ರೆ, ಆತ್ಮೀಯರು, ಹಿರಿಯ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳು ಆಗಿರುವಂಥ ಶ್ರೀವತ್ಸ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಅವರೇ, ಈ ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಸೆಮಿನಾರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾಗವಹಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಿರುವಂಥ, ನಿನ್ನೆ ಮತ್ತು ಇವತ್ತು 2 ದಿವಸಗಳ ಕಾಲ ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತ ಮತ್ತು ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ನಾಲೆಡ್ಜ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ICT ಈ ಮೂರರ ವಿಷಯಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಆಳವಾಗಿ ಚರ್ಚೆಯನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿರುವಂಥ, ಚರ್ಚೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾಗವಹಿಸಿರುವಂಥ ಸೆಮಿನಾರ್ನ ಎಲ್ಲ ಭಾಗವಹಿಸಿಕೆ ಬಂದಿರುವಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲ ಆತ್ಮೀಯ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರೆ, it's a matter of great joy that Bengaluru has hosted this very important national seminar on Sanskrit, IKS and ICT. I'm extremely happy that I got to be a small part of this very important 2-day seminar which celebrates the life and work of one of the greatest stalwarts in this area of work, Vidwan Lakshmi Tatacharya ji, whose work, whose legacy is certainly outlasting his physical presence in this, his mortal presence in this world. Even while I was coming to the event, I was reading up about him and trying to understand the scope and breadth and depth of the work that he has done. It's because of great men like him who are personification of institutions in their own right that most of our traditional knowledge systems are even to this day alive and is also being effectively transmitted to the large number of young audience, young Indians who are still present and effectively taking part in these kind of initiatives. He has accomplished in one lifetime, he has accomplished more in one lifetime what most can only dream of accomplishing in 100. So on behalf of all of you, I want to offer my pranams to Lakshmi Tatacharya for the incredible work that he has done. ಇವತ್ತು ಶಿವರಾತ್ರಿ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿರುವಂಥ ನಮ್ಮ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿರುವಂಥ ತುಂಬ ದೇವಸ್ಥಾನಗಳಿಗೆ ನಾನು ವಿಸಿಟ್ ಮಾಡುವಂಥದ್ದಿದೆ. ಎವ್ರಿ howsoever much I would want to spend time here, I'm not in a position to miss out on visiting the temples because a lot of the temple management committees, the devotees, everybody is waiting. I just want to highlight 2-3 important points as to why seminars of this kind, efforts of this kind are extremely important in today's day and age. ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತ ಈ ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತಿಯ ಗ್ರಾಮರು, ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತಿಯ ವ್ಯಾಕರಣ ಇರುವಂಥದ್ದೇನೆ ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತ ಭಾಷೆಯಲ್ಲಿ. If one wants to understand Bharatiya civilization in its true essence, the most effective key to understanding it lies in the Sanskrit language. Unfortunately, this language, pre-independence, was the target of the colonizer in both the rounds of colonization, and post-independence, unfortunately again, this language became the biggest victim of the country's so-called quote-unquote secular politics. From Will Durant to Vivekananda to Sri Aurobindo, every scholar who always had the best intent for India, about India, has always judged and appreciated the Sanskrit language in its right context. There is one very interesting quote of Sri Aurobindo which perhaps captures the beauty of Sanskrita. This is what Sri Aurobindo says. The Sanskrit language is the Deva Bhasha. It is the language of the Satya Yuga based on the true and perfect relation of Vak and Artha. Every one of its vowels and consonants has a particular and inalienable force which exists by the nature of things and not by development or human choice. ಎಷ್ಟು ಅದ್ಭುತವಾಗಿದೆ ಈ ಕೋಟು. The difference between all other languages and the difference between ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತ ಏನು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕೋಟಲ್ಲಿ ಅರವಿಂದರು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. That the relation between Vak and Artha, the way Sanskrit came out, the way it emanated, the way it lives, is not on the force of human agency, human choice, but on the basis of nature's creation itself. So we are such proud inheritors of a language, a culture of this kind. And it is only important that we not only protect it, preserve it, but also propagate it to posterity. In this context, institutions of this kind, attempts of this kind is very important. I keep, whenever anyone makes a study of the Sanskrit language in the context of India's political history, there is one thing that we will always realize. Whether it was the early romanticism of the early missionaries towards Sanskrit, or the later day demonization of Sanskrit, the object of the colonizer was always the same. When he romanticized it, the object was again to convert the natives. When he demonized it, he again did it with the same intention of making sure the indigenous populations lose reverence and respect to their native tongue. It was always with a malefic intent. We see this cycle, the circle of romanticism, Max Muller to Robert Caldwell. We see this whole 360-degree turn. Unfortunately, even after 70, 75 years after independence, the same politicization, vilification, wrongful vilification of Sanskrit took place. But it is to the credit of the Honorable Prime Minister, and thanks to all of you, because in 2014 and 2019, all of you gave a very, very clear mandate, because of which the government today, under the leadership of Narendra Modi ji, is able to revive this great language and institutionalize efforts like the Indian knowledge systems through institutions like the AICTE. And perhaps there could not have been a better institution than AICTE to institutionalize the study of Indian knowledge systems. In fact, Sitaram, our predecessor, Anil Sahasrabuddhe avariದ್ದಾಗ, I had very long discussions about why AICTE was chosen, how, what kind of a credibility that organization brings to study of IKS. There has been a lot of effort that's been going on, and I'm very happy that ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಒಂದು ಸೆಮಿನಾರ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಸೆಮಿನಾರ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. 2 ದಿವಸ ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಚರ್ಚೆ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಎಸ್ಪೆಷಲಿ ICT ಆ್ಯಂಗಲ್ನಿಂದ ಕೂಡ ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತವನ್ನು ಅಪ್ರೋಚ್ ಮಾಡುವಂಥದ್ದಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ. I only want to say this and conclude. When people say Samskrita is a dead language, one cannot be more wrong than that. Sanskrit is alive and will be alive as long as every single Bharatiya Bhasha is alive. As long as there remains a last standing Kannada speaker, Samskrita is alive. As long as there is a last standing Punjabi speaker, Alivargunu Samskrita will be alive. Because ಈ ಎಲ್ಲ ಭಾರತೀಯ ಭಾಷೆಗಳು ಕೂಡ ನಿಂತಿರೋದು, ಆಧಾರವಾಗಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿರೋದು ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತ ಭಾಷೆಯನ್ನು. This very unmindful obsession, mindless obsession with English is also a result of the colonizers' influence. I just ಒಂದು ಸಣ್ಣ ಉದಾಹರಣೆ ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ. Sometimes I think the colonization is so deep within all of us. ಬಹುಶಃ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದರು US-ಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಅಮೆರಿಕಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರನ್ನ ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಂತ ಅಮೆರಿಕದವ್ರು ಹೇಳ್ದಲ್ಲ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ರೆ, ಭಾರತದವರು ಅವರನ್ನು ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಅಂತ ಬಹುಶಃ ಅಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ವೇನು. Recently I was interacting with a textile industry leader from in my constituency. I asked him, sir, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಗಳ ಹೆಸರೇನು? He said, sir, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಈ ಲೂಯಿ ಫಿಲಿಪ್, ಪೀಟರ್ ಇಂಗ್ಲೆಂಡ್, ಇದೆಲ್ಲದೂ ನಮ್ಮದೇ ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಂಡು ಸರ್. ಸೊ ದೆನ್ ಐ ಆಸ್ಕ್ಡ್ ಹಿಮ್, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಮ್ಯಾನುಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಚರ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ನೀವು? ಸೆಡ್, ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಸರ್, ಕೆಂಗೇರಿಲಿ ಒಂದಿದೆ, ಪೀಣ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದಿದೆ, ಒಂದು ಬೊಮ್ಮನಹಳ್ಳಿಲಿ ಒಂದಿದೆ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂನ್ಸಿಲೇ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ. ದೆನ್ ಐ ಆಸ್ಟ್ ಹಿಮ್, ಸರ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಂಗೇರಿ ಬೊಮ್ಮನಹಳ್ಳಿ ಪೀಣ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಮ್ಯಾನುಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಚರ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಲೂಯಿ ಫಿಲಿಪು ಮತ್ತು ಪೀಟರ್ ಇಂಗ್ಲೆಂಡ್ ಅಂತೆಲ್ಲ ಯಾಕೆ ಹೆಸರಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀರಿ ಅಂತ. ಅಯ್ಯೋ ರಾಮ ಬೊಮ್ಮನಹಳ್ಳಿ ಅಂತ ಹೆಸರಿಟ್ರೆ ಯಾವನು ಕೊಂಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ, ಅದಕ್ಕೇನೆ ನಾವು ಇದೆ ಪೀಟರ್ ಇಂಗ್ಲೆಂಡ್ ಅಂತ ಇಟ್ಟಿರೋದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. I mean, it's just a very stark indication of how deeply this colonization has touched all of us. Even recently, just tell you how pop culture also plays an important role in all of this. There was this on Instagram, there was this song maybe a year and a half ago. ಈ ಕಚಾ ಬಾದಾಮ್ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲರ್ ಆದ ನಾಪಕ ಇದೆಯಾ ನಿಮಗೆ? ಯು ಮೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಸೀನ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್. ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ somewhere from Kolkata. He was a peanut seller, Chhattisgarh or Kolkata somewhere. He was selling these peanuts, singing a song, very talented fellow, and he became an instant viral material on Instagram. And after 2-3 days, or rather 2-3 weeks, some of the big production companies or these live shows irtavalla, reality shows, they called him up and wanted to produce a show out of his talent. Just 2-3 days before, 2-3 weeks before, when he was giving interviews on social media and everything, he was this very normal man. On cycle ittu, ಒಂದು ಪಂಚೆ ಗಿಂಚೆ ಥರದ್ದು ಉಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದ, ಕುಂಕುಮ ವಿಭೂತಿ ಏನೋ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದ. All of that was there. Just 3 weeks after that, when he was put on the blingy covers of the magazines and came on the reality shows, ಅವನು 3-piece ಸೂಟ್ ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ರು ಅವನಿಗೆ. ಅವನು ಕುಂಕುಮ ಮತ್ತು ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲದನ್ನು ಅಳಿಸ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ರು, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ ನೌ ಸಕ್ಸಸ್ಫುಲ್. So the pop culture attempt is also to show that if you want to be seen as successful and rich, you have to give up your traditional clothing, you have to give up your kunkuma, you have to give up your vibhuti. It subconsciously, this is planted, and this is just the colonizer at his play. I mean, after that reality show episode, I don't think anybody has even bothered to know where this man is, what he is doing. Perhaps he may have gone back to selling peanuts in the same village and gone back to perhaps his dhoti and his kunkuma and vibhuti. But this again very deliberate attempt at showcasing success as something that is very distanced, divorced from our traditional clothing, traditional mores, is again a very deliberate, sinister colonizer attempt. Today, sometimes when I attend when we say Samskrita is a Deva Bhasha, recently somebody was asking me, I'm running out of time, I will just take last minute to make this point. There has never been in this land a very strict distinction between what is sacred and what is secular. It has never been the case in this civilization. If someone is singing a song, it's a prayer. If an artist is, say, drawing, say, either a rangoli or even a canvas painting, even that is an offering to the Lord. Bharatanaಟ್ಯ ಕೂಡ is an offering to the God. So ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಆರ್ಟ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, any expression of human endeavor has always been as an offering, as a prayer. So when you start making this or imposing this artificial distinction of sacred and secular on our language, on our arts, on our dances, then you are killing the very root essence of what it actually stands for. ಯೋಗ ಕಲಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಆದರೆ ನಾವು ಸೂರ್ಯ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಆದರೆ ನಾವು ಮಿತ್ರಾಯ ನಮಃ ಹೇಳಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಹೇಳಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅವಾಗ ಸೆಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. I mean, this is we are seeing attempts of this kind happening not just in India but around the world, which is where attempts at studying Indian knowledge system, protecting our languages, our worldview of thinking, all of this becomes important. ನಾವು ಅಧೋಮುಖ ಶ್ವಾನಾಸನ ಅಂತ ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತದ ಹೇಳೋದನ್ನ ಡೌನ್ವರ್ಡ್ ಡಾಗ್ ಪೊಸಿಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಡಿಫ್ರೆನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ ಅದೆರಡರಲ್ಲಿ, ರೈಟ್? In the same way, there are even Carnatic music singers. I don't want to take names, but all of you know, who are making efforts at secularizing our bhajans. ಆ ಹಾಡಿರೋದೇನೇ ಕೃಷ್ಣನ ಬಗ್ಗೆನೋ ರಾಮನ ಬಗ್ಗೆನೋ. How can you so efforts of this kind is happening. There are attempts at secularizing Bharatanatyam. So in this context, studying of Indian knowledge systems, especially the Prime Minister's thrust of infusing or giving the task, this onerous task, to institutions like the AICT, is a very important aspect in this whole context. There is one quote of Swami Vivekananda which I want to leave all of you with. Swamiji said, while critiquing the English education, he said, one of the first things that a child is taught, one of the very first things a child is taught is that his father is a fool and that his grandfather is a lunatic. And all his holy books are nothing but stories of myths. So this was what Swamiji said in his critique on the English education system. So if you were to go and talk to a youngster who comes from this kind of a colonized education today and tell him that there's a professor like Dwarka Das who has written 10 volumes on just Indian metallurgy, it will be a shock for him. But ಆ ಡಾಕ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ರಿಲಿ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು, ಒಂದೊಂದು ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆನೇ ಒಂದೊಂದು ಪುಸ್ತಕ ಬರೆದು ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ರು. ಜಿಂಕ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆನೇ ಒಂದು 300-400 ಪೇಜು, ಮರ್ಕ್ಯೂರಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ 400-500 ಪೇಜು. ಸೊ whether it is in the field of medicine, whether it is in integrated healing, whether it is in chemistry, whether it's in surgery, there is immense opportunity for us today to revisit what our ancestors, what our the great seers of this land have given us. It is very different from being jingoistic. Not saying that ನಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇತ್ತು ಅಂತ. We are saying that we also had a lot of things. And those lot of things, ಅದಕ್ಕೇನೋ ಒಂದು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೈರಿ ಡೇಟ್ ಇದೆ ಅಂತಲ್ಲ, ಅದ್ರದ್ದು ಇವತ್ತಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ವ್ಯಾಲಿಡಿಟಿ ಇದೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಗೋ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ರೀಡ್ ದೆಮ್. ಸೊ ವಿತ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಸ್ಪಿರಿಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಎನ್ಕ್ವೈರಿ, with that spirit of scientific thinking, and with that very native reverence that this culture has towards knowledge, let us approach this endeavor. I wish Samiksha Foundation, the Sanskriti Foundation, for organizing Samiksha, and all the participants who have deliberated over the last 2 days. Once again, I offer my very sincere, a very respectful pranams at the feet of Tatacharya. Elrigu kuda namaskara. All the very best.
Thank you very much for the awe-inspiring speech, sir. We have nothing but else to say, just namaste and namaste and namaste. Just 1 or 2 sentences I would like to add. First thing is the relationship between Sanskrit and Indian culture. So as I said, Bharatasya pratishthe dve samskritam samskritis tatha. So why do we need Sanskrit is one basic question people ask. So the answer is very beautifully given. Just as if somebody wants to bring us a cup of water, you have to bring it in a steel glass or a glass or whatever it is. So Sanskrit is the adhara in which Samskriti is delivered to people. So without adhara you cannot bring water.
ಸಿಮಿಲರ್ಲಿ ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತಿ ಇರೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಇನ್ನೊಂದೇ ಒಂದು ಮಾತು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಬೇಕಾಗಿರೋದು, ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತ ಡೆಡ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜ್ ಅಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಅದು ನಿಜ. ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಮಾತಿದೆ, ಸಾಹಿ ಶ್ರೀಹಿ ಅಮೃತ ಸತಾಂ ಅಂತ. ಸತ್ಪುರುಷರಿಗೆ ಅದು ಅಮೃತವಾಗಿದೆ, ಅಮೃತತ್ವಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾರಣವಾಗಿದೆ, ಅದು ಅಮೃತವಾಗಿದೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾವೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಎವ್ರಿ ಸೆಂಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಅನ್ ಅಸರ್ಟಿವ್ ಸೆಂಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಂಡಾಗ ಅಸತಾಂತು ಮೃತ ಅಂತ. ಅಸತ್ಪುರುಷರಿಗೆ ಅದು ಮೃತಪ್ರಾಯವಾಗಿರಬಹುದು, ಆದರೆ ಸತ್ಪುರುಷರಿಗೆ ಅದು ಅಮೃತಪ್ರಾಯವಾಗಿದೆ, ಅಮೃತತ್ವಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾರಣವಾಗಿದೆ. ಈ ರೀತಿ ಹೇಳಿದಂತಹ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ತೇಜಸ್ವಿ ಸೂರ್ಯ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಎಷ್ಟು ಆಭಾರಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಹೇಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ನೋ ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಟು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಮೈ ಗ್ರ್ಯಾಟಿಟ್ಯೂಡ್ ಡಿಸ್ಪೈಟ್ numerous demands on time, and I think we are in safe hands due to, I would not like to say politicians, but experts in polity like him who will be leading the country in the future. So I request Professor Dwarkadasa to kindly felicitate him as he has to leave early. Now I request Dr. Srivatsa Krishnaji. He also has to leave for another program, so I request him to kindly give his address.
Shri Tejasvi Surya, Honorable MP, Professor Sitaram, Dr. Shailesh Nayak, former Secretary, Government of India, Professor Dwarkadasa. It's a great privilege to be here at this function of the Samskriti Foundation. I'll keep my remarks very brief. I think we all remember in 1991 when the Berlin Wall came down and East and West Germany got unified, and that was a tectonic shift in the politics of Europe. Likewise, I'd like to make an analogy and say in 2014, when Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi got elected, it is a tectonic shift in Indian politics. India was being run one way for the last 70 years. No doubt there were several achievements in the previous 70 years, but a civilizational value-based shift happened in 2014. And that is something which is, I think, propelling the development of Sanskrit forward. I'd like to just give one or two small examples. Recently, Sri Satya Nadella, the chairman of Microsoft, was in India, and the government showed him something which astonished him. We used ChatGPT. All of you have heard about ChatGPT. We used ChatGPT where a farmer in a rural setting spoke to ChatGPT in his native language. ChatGPT navigated him to the correct government website, and he wanted a particular service, and that service was made available to him all through verbal command. What is astonishing is not the fact that the farmer spoke in his native language and there was somebody in government behind the scenes who had already put all government policies, rules and documents on it, which enabled the interface to take him and give him the service he wanted. That is not what was astonishing. What was astonishing was ChatGPT, which was unveiled to the world in November 2022, made its appearance in India in a government website 2 months later. Think about the speed at which technology is moving and transforming our world and our lives. 2 months from November, Satya's demo happened in the first week of January. Here was a technology available freely in the Bay Area and has traveled thousands of miles, reached India. Somebody in government in India has loaded these documents, taught it the documents, and enabled a farmer in some other corner of the country to be able to receive a service. So the demo, think about it. Tomorrow, if you speak in Sanskrit to it, it's well possible that you will also be able to reach and get a government service. I'd also like to point out a couple of other things to you. Google has come out with glasses which will be unveiled officially, hopefully later this year, wherein if two people are wearing the same glasses, you speak in the language you want and he will hear it in the language that he knows. You speak in Sanskrit to him, he will hear it in English. If he speaks in English or Hindi, you will be able to hear it in Sanskrit. They've already shown the prototype demo, and this will be available commercially later this year or maybe in the following year, which is again a marvel of technology, which is what this conference is all about. I'd like to mention something which not many of you may be aware. I was IT secretary here 2013 to 16. Last year, Bangalore overtook the Silicon Valley. Bangalore overtook Silicon Valley to become the single largest knowledge cluster in IT on the planet. There are 2.1 knowledge professionals in Bengaluru, overtaking Silicon Valley, which had 2 million professionals, and that is all clustered in and around Bangalore, which accounts for some of our traffic woes. Bangalore, therefore, 2 million direct jobs, 6 million indirect jobs in IT, is leapfrogging ahead of the West, coincidentally at a time when perhaps for the first time we have not just a prime minister who understands technology, but a prime minister who is able to visualize its impact on the day-to-day lives of citizens. It's his vision which has enabled a program like Startup India to happen. Startups were not something to be proud of 10 years ago, but today everyone wants to do a startup. And he has given a kind of legitimacy to startups, and it's the technological base which started in 1991 after liberalization, which enabled the giants of industry like Infosys, TCS, Wipro to get up and form the foundation on which today the next wave of IT is happening. As Sri Tejasvi put it very well, Sanskrit is a foundational language. It's a civilizational language. Again, I think the rise of Sanskrit and our civilizational values will coincide in the coming decade. I'd like to end by pointing out a small factoid to you. In the year 1700s, India had 37% of the global GDP. In the 1600s, we had 24% of the global GDP. And then it went down rock bottom. We are back up now at 7 to 8% of the global GDP and rising. We are the only large economy growing at 6 to 7% rate of growth at a time when UK's inflation is now at 12%. India's inflation is at 5 to 6%. So the stars are aligning in many ways for India, and I think it's the opportune time for a language like Sanskrit to have its resurgence as well. It is, as they say, India, not just India's decade, but hopefully India's century, and Sanskrit will play a pivotal role. I'd like to thank Dr. Alvar for inviting me here today to be amidst you, and I'm grateful to you, all of you, for your time and thoughts. Thank you very much.
I'm extremely thankful to you, sir, for making yourself free and available despite numerous demands on time. And I think it is only by the support and encouragement of people like you that we will be able to progress in the tasks that we have planned ahead. Thank you very much. So I request our Honorable President, Professor Dwarka Dasa, to kindly felicitate Sri Shivatsa Krishna ji. Yes, okay. Thank you very much, sir. Yes, I'll come. I now request Dr. Shailesh Naik ji to say a few words.
Professor Dwarkadas ji, Dr. Sitaram, delegates, Dr. Alvar. I understand that yesterday and today you had a lot of discussion about the Sanskrit, IKS and ICT, and you must have discussed many things. I'm sure that it would be really important, and I know about Dr. Alvar and his father's contribution. Actually, when I came here 5 years back, the first time I met in the very hall Dr. Lakshmita Thakurji, and I still remember his dedication and his zeal to pursue this subject. It's very important that Dr. Krishna just mentioned about our GDP and all in the past, which was quite high compared to what we have today. But that is the reason that the kind of knowledge which we had at that time. And Professor Dwarkadas ji knows much better than me that I understand that the metallurgy was one which India commanded tremendous respect. There are even examples in near Qutub Minar that the kind of it has not rusted after several centuries. Our wood steel, which used to be used for the swords all over the world. And there are many such examples of this kind. Engineering also, we were quite ahead, and our logo which you see behind is coming from the Salva Sutra, 6th century. It was one of the best engineering manual where they have said how even bricks to be baked, what kind of material to be used. And the most important in engineering, Dr. Sitaram knows, the root to values is given in the Salva Sutra. Also, the so-called Pythagoras theorem was first time used in the 6th century in the Salva Sutra. And that is why NIA's logo comes from that we need to respect the knowledge which we had. And that is why we were on the top of the world. I think we have to come back to respect the knowledge, to generate the new knowledge, if we want to go further on this. So I thank Dr. Alvar for inviting me and all of you to participate in this very important subject. And I'm sure that collectively we would be able to further find out what all we knew in the past and how that can be used further to our progress. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for succinctly summarizing what we need to know and how we need to proceed forward. Thank you very much once again, sir. I now request Professor Dwarkadas to kindly give his presidential remarks.
Very good evening to everybody. In the program sheet, it says presidential remarks for just 2 minutes. That means 1 minute to thank the dignitaries on the diet and the other minute to honor them. We really had excellent expressions of some of the facts that we need to know from Sri Tejasvi Surya. We should be very thankful to him. This is the first time I've heard him, and I'm really amazed at the way he put several things in his talk. The way he connected Sanskrit with all the languages and said Sanskrit will remain until the last of the language will remain is a very beautiful thing. It's for all of us to start thinking about it. He mentioned that I am the author of the 10 books on metallurgy. I want to make a correction. I am not the author. Samskriti Foundation is the author, and I am one of the participants in that. It is Professor Lakshmi Tatachar who started it, like I mentioned it yesterday morning. He started to take an interest in metals and steels and alloys and so on. And when I got to know him, he said, because you are a specialist in metallurgy, please take part in it and take it forward. That's how I got involved myself. So it's not correct to say it's my books. There are books from the Samskriti Foundation. Very soon you will see the final result of that. Editing is completed. I'm thankful to Dr. Sitaram, because my colleague in the Institute of Science, now the chairman of the All India Council of Technical Education, to have put before us the various possibilities to collaborate and work with the ICT. I think we should take his invitation very seriously, and many of us should contact him and get to know the benefits of working with the ICT. I have known AICT for a very long time, and it has undergone a lot of changes. And as he mentioned, today he's not working as a regulatory body, he's now working with a conciliatory body, and he wants to work together. And this takes us quite far. I think Dr. Srivatsa Krishna mentioned some two very important things. One of them was about Chat GPT. I was just talking to Dr. Sitaram about Chat GPT. What is it going to do with our education? If somebody gets an education question paper, Chat GPT will write the entire answer. You can go and sleep. You don't have to write anything. Right? So, how are we going to tackle this? How are we going to train our minds? This is not training our mind. This is training something else. So we are excited about technology on the one hand, the developments and the things that it can do and so on. On the other hand, we are also worried about it. What it's going to do to us, to the human mind. So it is the duty of all of us to keep thinking about it and find out how to combat it. One way is to say, okay, we go along with it. Another way to say, no, keep far away, I don't even want to touch it. Both of them are not correct. We should try to find out how we can interact with it and say, make the impact, the bad impact, minimal as possible. I understand from Dr. Alvar that the deliberations for these 2 days were excellently received, very apt, very topical, and everybody enjoyed it. Unfortunately, for various reasons, I could not present all the time. But as I mentioned yesterday, the first year of the project, so we're going to have 2 more years. So we're going to convene 2 more sessions like seminars like this, and all of you can come back and interact with us. With these words, I think I'll bring the session to a close, and I still need to honor the 2 guests on the dais. And I would like to say a very special thanks to Dr. Alvar, who single-handedly he has managed the entire fair single-handedly, despite his own very busy schedule as a Sanskrit professor. But I must say, the result has been wonderful. I think everybody agrees with that. I think I also want to thank my co-trustees in the foundation who have contributed in a very great measure. I must thank all the delegates. Some of them have already left. I should thank all of them for taking interest in coming here, interacting with us, and providing the right kind of atmosphere for the exchange of thoughts. Thank you again, Dr. Sitaram. Thank you again, Dr. Shailesh Naik, for the excellent exposition in the evening. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I request Sri Srinivas Aital ji to kindly come on stage and accept our honor. I also request Sri Sri K. Lokesh, our art director of our foundation, to kindly come on stage. Sri Lokesh has been our art director and doing all the artwork for us for the last 20 years. So we are very happy to felicitate him on this occasion. So I will not elongate the program further. We will conclude. I will just say Sarvebhyah Dhanyavadaha, Sarvebhyah Namo Namaha, Punardarshana Praptirastu. We will end with a Vedic Shanti Patha. I request all of you to kindly rise.
हरिः ॐ शन्नो मित्रशं वरुणः शन्नो भवत्वर्यमा शन्न इन्द्रो बृहस्पतिः शन्नो विष्णुरुक्रमः नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वामेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ